Coming up, a Cherokee rodeo family keeping traditions alive.
I couldn't tell you which end of a golf club to throw at golf, but I can tell you all about a horse and rope.
Plus, Cherokee professional wrestlers putting their alter egos on the line. Plus,
clearly, this exquisite old art form had just vanished.
Uncovering the true beadwork of the Cherokee Nation.
The Cherokees.
A thriving American Indian tribe.
Our history.
Our culture.
Our people.
Our future.
The principles of a historic nation.
Sewn into the fabric of a modern world.
Hundreds of thousands strong.
Learning. Growing.
Succeeding.
And steadfast.
In the past, we have persevered through struggle.
But the future is ours to write.
Osiyo.
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 These are the voices of the Cherokee people.
Osiyo, I'm Principal Chief Bill John Baker. Welcome to the Cherokee Nation and OsiyoTV. This is how we share our culture, our heritage, our history, and our language with you. Wodo.
Osiyo, it's how we say hello in Cherokee. I'm your host, Jennifer Lauren, at Oaks Indian Mission in Oaks, Oklahoma. This mission holds a special place in Cherokee Nation history, built in the 1800s as New Spring Place Mission. We'll tell you more about that later in the show. But first, the family that rodeos together stays together, people say. But that's not all that makes the Foreman family strong. A legacy of caring and of kindness and community building makes this family something special.
Oh, I'm Betty Foreman, 86 years old, raised a big family. I have 6 boys and 2 girls. And they all know horses and rodeoing, as well as cutting wood, baling hay, and whatever comes along.
Every Sunday morning we meet and have breakfast, and it's usually the whole crowd plus neighbors, friends, we feed 40 or 50 people. If you need something, usually go just say, where's the Foremans, and they'll point you in the directions.
You can go down through Oaks and look at every house down there, and probably half of them or so, we got kin folks.
We'll say Foreman on the mailbox.
We got kin folks in there.
They'll be kin to us somewhere down the line.
Yeah, it's all Cherokee Country.
All Cherokee Country.
Nothing tastes better than cooking food over, a old wood stove. Said it's a way to keep the family going and do it, because that was important to my dad.
So that's my dad. His name was Mac Foreman. He's kind of the main one.
He always just taught us to be respectful, take care of your family, and help someone if you can't.
The first thing he'd ask is if you ate. And if you come about lunchtime or supper time, he wasn't going to let you leave unless you ate.
He was a mentor to everybody. Everybody looked up to him.
Our family, the roping part of it started up at the Mullendore Ranch. A big cattle operation. My dad worked there.
It was 100 and some thousand acre ranch. And I can't tell you how many head of cattle they were. And we stayed there for 21 years then. Raised all of our kids up there.
We was all probably 1 year old or so, we was probably all on horses by then, I imagine. And like I said, we've done it all of our life.
It's hard to keep the boys over here to talk to because they eat and they're ready to go rope.
I couldn't tell you which end of a golf club to throw at golf. But I can tell you all about a horse and roping. So it's kind of bred in us, I guess.
That's all we know. We don't fish, we don't hunt and stuff like that, so if we try to find somewhere to go rope.
Mick, he's kind of the one, him and Dick, the older ones, got us into the rodeo business, and then we all went from there.
Every member of my family was a horseback. My daughters, my grandsons, their wives, their kids, they were all in the arena. I said, that's what it's all about.
We try to rope at least a couple nights a week.
We can start roping, and before it's all over, we'll have all kinds of people up here.
Or people just be driving by and they'll say, well, we seen you were roping. We thought we'd come in and watch you for a little while. They'll just pull up and sit there by the fence. I mean, it's not just the Foreman arenas, it's everybody's arena. It makes my mom feel good to see somebody out there, you know.
We just ran all the steers through practicing, so they're down in the return alley. They're gonna bring them back up and we'll run them through again.
Marcus, he's the youngest one right now, so he's kind of carrying on the tradition.
After his grandpa passed away, he wanted his shirt. And his old hat he'd thrown away. And he wears them a lot of times in rodeos. Him and Cowboy's little ones and Jackson's gonna have to carry on the name now. So, yeah, I'm very proud of all of them. Have no regrets. We work together, we stick together, and we help one another.
Deep in the heart of the capital of the Cherokee Nation, on a busy Saturday night, crowds gather to watch local professional wrestling, alter egos and all. It's a pastime propelled by the high spirits and drive of one man named Brad Eubanks.
Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m., sometimes to about 1 a.m. It depends on what's going on. Brad Eubanks works for the Cherokee Nation Career Services Department. You know, he's a father of 2 beautiful girls, single dad, working his tail off to provide for him and his daughters. Brad Eubanks is Clark Kent. The man they call fuel is the superhero.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
The man they call fuel. When you think of fuel, you think of fire, right? Fire has energy. Fuel is just one big ball of energy, you know. Fuel's Brad Eubanks turned up 100%, you know, cranked all the way high, you know. Fire can also light you up. The man they call fuel will light you up. The best way to sum up professional wrestling is the never-ending ongoing battle between good versus evil. The man they call fuel is a superhero battling evil, trying to save the world. And every demographic can relate to it. From infant all the way to grandma. You come to one of our shows, you actually become a part of the event. So if you yell at one of the bad guys in the ring, guess what? They can hear you and they're gonna yell back. The louder you are, the more energy we receive from you. It's so weird. It's like a superhero getting more of his superpowers. And you're engulfed with so much adrenaline and so much energy, and you feel like you can do anything. Well, I'll tell you this, the thing about pro wrestling, the emotion is real. The action is real. The strikes are real. And that's one thing, that's the thing about pro wrestling, that the fake stuff, that nasty F word, the nastiest F word there is out there. When it comes to pro wrestling, yes, this is entertainment, but it's a lot more real than you could ever realize. To be able to do this, be able to be a professional wrestler, I have to be in shape. So we have to work out constantly, train our bodies constantly to be able to be strong enough to be able to absorb the punishment that goes on in the ring to be a professional wrestler. And plus, you want to be in pretty good shape. I want to be able to feel okay enough to be able to go out there without a shirt on. The man they call Fuel wouldn't be alive without my grandma Pat. She was so into wrestling. She was just a fan. She would have me in little baby seat in front of the TV, watching it, probably holding me, hollering at the referee while she's watching it on TV. She took me to my very first live pro wrestling event. It was in Tahlequah. And I think maybe I was 4 or 5 years old. And what was cool is my hero was in the main event. He was the world heavyweight champion, wrestler Sting, and he wore face paint. Yeah, I'll never forget it. My aunt painted my face up like Sting's. And when Fuel first started painting his face, there's little kids out there with their face painted. I'm finally getting to become that hero for other kids. And when you have a parent that comes up to the man they call Fuel and tells them that my kid really looks up to you, oh my gosh, there's no other feeling in the world like that. It was December 2nd, 2001. On that night, she had a heart attack. Her death hit me hard. She's your best friend, your wrestling buddy. At her funeral, I got up and I spoke. And I said, Grandma, I promise you, I'm gonna become a professional wrestler for you. I thought of United Wrestling Entertainment. We're all united together to go out and give the audience a great show. And every show that we do, we do a fundraiser. And as of just a few weeks ago, we are now official state-certified nonprofit organization. And it's us giving back to the community. We just love being able to do that, and that's what we're all about. Whatever's out there tonight, I don't know if we're gonna have a big crowd, I don't know. I know the floor's looking good. The floor's pretty cool. So no matter what's out there, guys, we go out there and we give them the greatest show ever. Let's have fun tonight.
So are you guys ready for your semi-main event?
This is what I'm supposed to be doing for the rest of my life, until I can't physically do it anymore. And if you still want to pay money to see the man they call Fuel at 80 years old, the man they call Fuel is going to wheel himself in a wheelchair, somehow get in that ring and give you the performance of a lifetime.
In the late 1700s, white settlers were encroaching on traditional Cherokee lands. Many Cherokees were beginning to assimilate aspects of the infringing cultures. Some Cherokees were learning English and were looking for places to formally educate their children.
The Spring Place Moravian Mission was the first mission established in 1801, primarily to convert the Cherokees to the Moravian Church. And the Cherokees allowed it because they wanted their children to be taught in the schools.
James Vann, a prominent Cherokee, offered some of his land on which the Moravians could build their mission, and in 1804, the school at Spring Place opened.
The Moravians spoke German. Of course, the Cherokees spoke Cherokee, but they wanted their children to be taught in English, so that was a little tough at first.
Many leaders of the Cherokee Nation received their education at Spring Place. Major Ridge's children, John and Nancy, Elias Boudinot, the founder of the first Cherokee newspaper, and Stand Watie, who would later become a general in the Confederate Army, all were educated by the Moravians.
The Moravians established what they called God's Acre, which is their cemetery, and this went along with their mission. And initially, only the members of their church could be buried there.
Over time, several Cherokees were laid to rest at Spring Place as well. Chief Charles Renatus Hicks, the first Cherokee Moravian convert, requested to be buried in God's Acre. James Vann's wife, Peggy, is also buried here.
It isn't just the Cherokees and the Moravians, but also some of the black slaves were members of the church, and they're also buried there in the cemetery. So it's pretty much an interracial cemetery.
Georgia citizens forced the closure of Spring Place Mission in 1833 as the state was attempting to acquire Cherokee land. However, 9 years later, following the Trail of Tears, the Cherokee Nation and the Moravians reestablished the mission and school as New Spring Place in Indian Territory. From this site, the community of Oaks grew in the present Cherokee Nation, with the school eventually becoming Oaks Indian Mission. Oaks Indian Mission is still in operation today as a children's home and boarding school.
Let's talk Cherokee.
The Cherokee Syllabary is the writing system invented by Sequoyah. Each character represents a syllable in the Cherokee language. In this syllabary chart, the top row contains the 6 vowel sounds.
Water. Ama. Ant. Etloki. Pumpkin. Iya. O. Groundhog. Ogana. U. White. Unega. Locust. Locusts come out after several years. Elaski. Ijudetiada. Iudala. Aninagogoi.
Martha Berry is a Cherokee bead artist revered for helping to revive the true beadwork of the Cherokee Nation. It's an art form that was nearly lost after our tribe was forcibly removed from our homelands, but is now thriving thanks in part to the work of this dedicated artisan.
You can't rush good beadwork. You can't hurry it. The history of our beadwork is the history of the Cherokee people. The blending of cultures, creating this unique art form. Then came the Trail of Tears. The beadwork just, for all intents and purposes, essentially stopped being created. It was almost a lost art form and is in the process of being revived. I'm Martha Berry, and I do beadwork. I do period authentic Cherokee beadwork, the kind that was produced by Cherokee and other Southeastern woodlands women between about the end of the 1700s, late 1700s, and the removal in the 1830s. And I use authentic materials, and I'm kind of steeped in the past. I really wanted to know what the women in my Cherokee family were like, because they had all passed away before I was born. And I wanted to know all these little things like how did their hands look when they sewed on a button or kneaded bread dough or whatever it was that they did. I just wanted to know those things. I had always used a needle and thread. I had learned to embroider at a very young age, made my own clothes. So I knew how to use needle and thread. And I thought, well, I'll take those skills and put them to use to try to make this connect, this bonding with my ancestors. So I go to the hobby shop and I buy a stack of books on how to do Native American beadwork. I went home and I started teaching myself to do beadwork. The beadwork that I was learning was beadwork from the Plains nations, which are the great horse cultures that developed in the Great Plains of the United States. But our people were the Southeastern tribes, the Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Seminole, and some of the smaller tribes of the Southeast. There were no books on Southeastern beadwork. There were no classes. There were no teachers. Hardly anybody was doing it, but I was aware of the artifacts because I'd studied history. And I began to collect photographs, but they were just hard to find. They were hard to come by. But I had to have more photographs. And so I wrote the Smithsonian and the Peabody and all the big museums back east and asked them to send me photographs of Cherokee beadwork.
Scared to death to even write them.
I was. I don't have a college degree. And here I'm writing curators. I learned a couple of things. One is that all of the beaded artifacts were from pre-removal dates, and they were all this old classic Southeastern style. But all of the photographs of Cherokees wearing beadwork were after 1922, and in all of them, they were all wearing Plains beadwork. It was this sort of amazing realization. Clearly, this exquisite old art form had just vanished. And I thought, how on earth does something as beautiful as that just disappear? The other thing I learned was how gracious the people at the Smithsonian can be. They sent me an application for a grant to study for 3 weeks at the museum there and to examine their artifacts. And that was a real groundbreaker. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this. I had my magnifying glass and I realized what I was looking at, that this is not like anything else I've ever seen. And I said, oh my God. It was a real aha moment because I discovered exactly the proportions of the bags and the colors that they used and a couple of stitch techniques that you can't tell from a photograph. Just from looking at it and studying it, we know was important to them. They had these new, what was to them, state-of-the-art materials, but they didn't just use European designs. They used ancient mound builder and Mississippian designs. They merged them into this unique art form that is a visual metaphor for the time in which it was created, a time when we were blending our blood. We were blending our way of governance. So it was important that they took the best of both worlds to create something unique and something absolutely beautiful. And I think that That's being Cherokee. That's what we've always done. We've taken the hard knocks and not just survived, but thrived. And to be able to see that in that beadwork and then reproduce it in honor of those ancestors is an honor to me, to just be able to do that. This is the two-needle applique technique, and we use it because we use curvilinear designs, meaning lines that curved. And you can do the designs using straight lines of beads. My primary focus is on the pieces that were period authentic. Bandolier bags, which are the bags that have a long strap that starts on your shoulder, and half of the strap goes across the chest, half goes across the back, and the pouch rests on the opposite hip. Ceremonial sashes, which are basically the strap of a bandolier bag, the little small ladies' purses, moccasins, and belts. We did a lot of floral motifs, which involved these rounded petals of flowers and things like that, vines, things like that. And even the symbols that we used that were iconographic in nature and were the icons from the mounds still were created in these flowing movements. I was very blessed in 2013 to be designated a Cherokee National Treasure. When you're not, and you think that would just be the culmination of everything, you know, if I could just achieve that somehow, I could just coast, you know. And it was just the opposite emotion. It is a huge honor, but it is also a challenge because I feel more than ever I need to continue to grow and continue to improve my work and continue to push the revival and continue to teach because I represent the Cherokee Nation now.
We hope you enjoyed our show and that you'll consider learning more about our tribe at Osio.tv. There is no Cherokee word for goodbye because we know we'll see you again. We say, Dodadago ha'i. Wado. In the Cherokee Nation, news happens every day. Cherokee Nation's economic impact on the state of Oklahoma now exceeds $2 billion. With this shipment, the tribe has more than doubled its herd in less than a year.
That's going to provide more jobs.
To get your Cherokee Nation news, visit onadiskoe.com.